I am at a certain age that I feel like I'm at a crossroads in my life between my age and my physical body. I was feeling very unsettled in pretty much all aspects. Um, what do the next few years look like for me? What does it look like in my relationships, whether it's close personal relationships or friendships, or just my relationship with the world? Um, how can I um, communicate in a clearer, more compassionate voice to myself? That inner dialogue that we all have. Um, so I was looking to see if I could find, if this would help me address some of those issues. I feel like we all have insecurities and vulnerabilities that we wrestle with. And do we ignore them? Do we explore them? How do we address them? By participating, I learned to ask the question, am I responsible for the way people treat me? And that was something that came up that really hit me because I feel I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. Why is somebody treating me this way? Why am I reacting this way? And I learned that I'm not necessarily responsible for them. I'm responsible for me. Um, I have since, from taking this course, I've learned to make the choice to stop and examine my reactions to experiences and situations, and to approach life with more of a curious lens as opposed to being reactionary or being angry. Um, I want to be more curious. I want to learn and grow from experiences instead of just being angry and walking off, or being joyful and walking off. It's not all negative. It's there's tons of beauty out there. Step into that, explore that. So I feel like I really have blossomed into that. Both aspects, the good and the uncomfortable and the comfortable. Another thing I really took from it is that I understood that setting boundaries is not an act of defiance. You kind of look at boundaries as it's this line in the sand. You're not going to cross it, but it's not really an act of defiance. It's an act of self-love. And I'm embracing that it's not just a place of anger. I've learned to just kind of stop, to pause, to breathe, to notice not just myself, but the other person in the scenario. Here's a recent example. Just visiting with some family. I recently did a trip, and it was combination visiting friends, visiting some family. Um, Visiting family can be stressful, and I said no at one point, and it felt good. I felt good for me for saying, nope, that's too far for me. Um, that I feel like I've come a long way with that, instead of, all right, I'm going to go along to get along. So the joy came from taking care of myself. That's where I feel like the joy came from. And I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel like I was hurting anybody by setting that boundary. I just felt like it was the best choice for me and for where I am at and what I am working towards, what I'm moving towards in my life. I think it was very much worth the cost. We have weekly coaching calls. Um, you get input not just from the instructor, Twyla, but you also get input from people in the group. We're all going through kind of the same things. So between the input from each other, and talking with each other and the feedback from each other. Um, there's also the material, the handout material that I can always go back to. I can um, look at again and explore again and see, I feel differently. I understand it or I feel differently each time I look at it, or each time I read it, or each time I work one of the exercises. I just feel like it blossoms, it moves more for me. So yes, I think it's definitely worth the cost. First thing I would say, do it. If you're already looking and thinking about it, you're here. You're here because this is where you're supposed to be. So I feel do it. Everybody is nervous about joining and sharing and exploring themselves uh, in a group setting. But you find out that we're, like I said earlier, we're all struggling. Somebody will say something in one of the coaching calls or some of the handout material that you do when you're working on yourself. Something will hit home for you and you'll struggle a little less. And I think you'll love it a bit more. And I think that's why you're even thinking about it to begin with. If you're even considering it, you're ready. You're ready to do this. And some weeks, yes, some weeks are momentum's really up, and some weeks the momentum's not quite there because life is going on. But once you get into the coaching call and you get into the session, by the time you're at the end of the session, things are much better. Well, working with you is one of the best things I've ever done for myself, and I thank you for that. You're very compassionate. You're very articulate. You've helped me to understand how my emotions work, how the brain works. You break it down to where it's very understandable, to where you don't feel like, oh my God, I'm out of control. Why do I feel this way? You are very compassionate about breaking it down. It's okay. It's okay to feel that way. This is how your body reacts to stimuli from the outside. Um, I feel much better about myself and where I am in my life, thanks to working with you. And do it. Just do it. I think it's a no-brainer for me. I think I love your passion for what you do. I love that you want to share all of this with people who want to do something different because life does get a lot better from it. And I thank you very much for that. You know what? In this very fast, crazy world, we need to give ourselves some grace. And this is a great way to give yourself some grace and to feel better.